Hello and welcome to the Widow Journals here on CS for Crown, and my name is Ray, and I'm the Crown in CS for Crown. Yes, another bad headache. Oh, who cares? Uh, like really, in the grand scheme of important things in my life, brushing my hair ain't one of them. I am horribly tired. I disturbed things, and now I'm dealing with allergies and that kind of stuff. I had a horrible start to March with depression. However, on that note, depression can tell you a lot about what is going on in a moment and what is going on up in here and in here. And also on the weekend with my depression, I had a lot of pain because my lower back went, and with the weather I have arthritis. So, but yes, depression can tell you a lot if you're willing to just take quiet moments and listen. Mine has been telling me there's something not right, something that isn't sitting with me. And in taking some medicine for my pain, CBD oil specifically, I was able to have a lucid moment, because it's really hard to be lucid when your brain is not focused, and pain, chronic, severe, intense pain does not create focus. It actually takes away from your focus, and it takes away from mine, and I can't function. And so to take some medications that I need to get rid of that pain means you sleep. I slept all weekend. I tried to heal it in one direction like I've always done, and all it did was create more pain in my hips, because that's probably where the arthritis is going to be the next to go have x-rays. I slipped and fell in 2014 directly sideways, because I always fall to the right, but usually hit more to the butt. Lots of cushion, got some cushion down on the higher hip and on my butt. Didn't do that, fell completely sideways in February of 2014. And if I hadn't been laying on the street when I did it, I would have laid there for 5 minutes until said time as I could focus again, because I hurt myself really bad. Unfortunately, it did set into motion, so that 7 years later, we'll be looking for the arthritis in there. Yay, osteoarthritis. Woo! Go osteo, go osteo. Anyways, I forgot my laptop, and it's important because I posted something on Facebook that has to do with perceptions and things, because life can be very, very difficult when you're grieving, and difficult to communicate what you want. And if people sit back for fear of pushing or dealing with, okay, you've said something and now this grieving person has become really upset and feels irrational, it can leave the person who's grieving kind of floating. And that's part of the problem with my grieving process, is being the crone alone in all this. And I got my book that I ordered to help me with my perspective on grief, and etc., because my perspective is different than, say, a Christian's or a Buddhist or a Jewish person's or, you know, Muslims. I don't call myself a Wiccan anymore because that isn't who I am. I am pagan, so I need perspective. And in pencil, it is my book. I can write in it if I want to. And that's the other thing, is embracing freedoms as an adult. So I'm going to stop here, go get my laptop, and then discuss that, because something in the book really related to what I said when I made the post yesterday on Facebook. Okay, so here we go. Okay. So I'm gonna start with a paragraph from the book. Already I'm liking it. Yesterday when I got it, when I was upset, I just about threw it in the corner, you know, because I wasn't there in that right frame of mind. Sometimes you have to be in the right frame of mind to embrace things. So anyways, I made a note on the side of the book. You can see my horrible, well, sort of see my horrible handwriting there. Note in the book. My loneliness in my grave. We hope this book will help to strengthen and empower our communities. And prior to that, I will preface is that they were talking about the sacred cycle. I'm in the chapter about the sacred cycle and the communities to which oh, the sun through the window. And she's talking about communities and things based on the communities. Haha. We hope this book will help to strengthen and empower our communities. Hillary Rodham Clinton popularized the African proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child." We might paraphrase that too, "It takes a whole community to get through a death." Yes, so we might paraphrase that too. It takes a whole community to get through a death. Only the love and support of those around us can help us let go of life when our time comes, or weather the pain of bereavement when someone we love dies. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you choose a pagan path, there's an acceptance that you go it alone. So you're not part of that church community. And in this time of the sea, of the vid, there is a ton of isolation going on. In that we are not allowed to amass in groups, and some of which I actually agree with, because, you know, even with just regular old flu, when somebody has flu, you don't want to be spreading flu. Flu sucks. And someone said to me yesterday that possibly now vid is the new flu. A slightly more dangerous version of it. But if we look through history, there's been a lot of horrible diseases that we as a species have survived. But I'm not going to get into the politics of what you should and shouldn't do. But the only thing I want you to do when you are listening to this video is to take a moment and breathe and process what happens when community structure isn't there, and when it is thought it's there, but when it's not really there. And that's what I wrote about on Facebook. I have the laptop over here, a pencil in the book. And I've tried to be very thoughtful and not, you know, I hate the world and I hate that everybody is doing this and nobody's paying attention to me, boo-hoo shit type stuff, because of who I am. Okay. I wrote this not to provoke comment, but rather to provoke thought. I would appreciate if people do not have constructive things to say, to not say anything at all. As always, gifts and emojis are appreciated. Frustrated today. Lots going on and I'm overwhelmed. Angry, depressed, lonely, definitely feeling abandoned. I suppose all par for the course, given that I'm still grieving. There is a sense, for me, that I should be past where the sadness is, or whatever, that I shouldn't be where I'm sitting at. I've shocked people with comments on Facebook and behaviors on my other profile. I have run and hid in the profile where I have less than 50 friends. You know, it's kind of nice. It's actually rather quite quiet on Rayanne Creighton versus Rachel Ann Creighton. A lot of the friends on Rachel Ann Creighton were game friends, and I still have them because I'm not sure who's playing what, and do they need that person, do they still need me there even though I'm not handing out gifts and that kind of stuff. So it might be time to clean house. But yes, I am still grieving. I haven't reached out a lot to well-meaning people for a few reasons. Number one, I hate pity parties, and even though I've needed to talk, I have kept it close to only a few people because that's all I've been able to handle. Plus, I haven't needed the conversations of the right or wrong of how I felt about his passing. There's a lot of anger and things involved with how he passed, with what happened, whether it was, you know, did I do the right thing, or should I have just let him go and not bothered, you know? What was the right thing to do? And then I was talking to myself earlier that potentially it's not about right or wrong, it's about accepting what happened regarding September 8th. 2. Up until February, I was in shock. My lashing out on my other profile was me being defensive because everything was hitting me all at once. I'm not sure I have fully come out of shock at this time. After the situation regarding my mom, I carried the shock of it until I met Kirk, 2010 to 2014. So for 4 or 5 years, I lived in shock, and there's still parts of me that I can still feel like, whoa, what the hell, you know, what the hell, you know, what happened? I can't wrap my brain around what happened with my mother, and so that is setting stage for reactions to what's around Kirk. If I can't wrap my head around what happened to my mom, how the hell am I supposed to wrap my head around what happened with Kirk? In psychiatry, it is well known that trauma will lay dormant until the brain feels the person is safe enough to deal with it. That's a well-known fact. I'm not just spouting words here. There are people who've had traumatic events as children, And when they felt safe, all of a sudden, bleh, stuff comes out, and then you're left to deal with it. Number 3, unfortunately for me, talking about some things makes me, let's see if I can use my book. There we go. Yay! Unfortunately for me, talking about some things makes me relive them over and over. No one likes to live in the unkind moments of their life. His death traumatized me on top of trauma that was already in my life. And that's true. He wasn't very well the morning of September 8th. And I got focused on taking him to dialysis. And so I pushed. Hello, Bastion. Don't knock this over. Got things working. Don't screw it up for Mommy. And I pushed. Potentially, hindsight is this wonderful thing. Potentially, I should have just phoned an ambulance and sent him to the hospital. But I figured since we were going to a hospital, that they could deal with it on that end. His dialysis had been, in a lot of ways, became the be-all and end-all to everything. You need to go or you're going to die. We never made it to dialysis that day. Number 4, there are things I need to talk about that I have encountered either gets one attacked or their sanity questioned. When brought up, several people have disappeared. So when I talk about some things that go on with me because I'm, it's past life and I'm a pagan and all that kind of stuff, people don't understand it, so they stop talking to you, or they look at you like, okay. Or they add their 2 cents from a different perspective that doesn't make any sense in this, when in the moment your words are great, but given other circumstances would be even greater. But sometimes you need to talk from the perspective that you're sitting in, and I don't have that really in my life. He was my person I talked to about that. So okay, and then so you don't want to talk about it. I've learned not to talk because it's preferable to having to explain, having to defend yourself, or losing people. People you might actually need. Number 5, disappointment. I guess my expectations were too high again. I should know what people say and what people do are 2 separate things. I've had a lifetime of this, and I don't ask because I don't trust. I've had lots of people say things and never follow through on it. Promises made. And when you've spent a lifetime of having promises made, people saying things to just make you feel better, or just to make themselves feel better, without any regard to how that really is going to impact you, eventually you come to a place where you just don't bother anymore. Number 6, COVID. How does one ask for help from people already stretched to their own breaking point from something that has significantly altered everyone's life? How much do I get to ask? I know I'm the grieving widow and I need attention and that kind of thing. And I do need help. But how can I ask other people? Like, I know some people are going to say, well, you should just ask, because you never know. Somebody may be able to come and help. Somebody may actually have. But there we go back to the trust issues in that. And coming to the idea of, for some things, should I have to ask? That's kind of what prompted this, was why should I have to ask for some things? Which built anger up in my head, and so when I had my lucid calm moment, I came up with this. Number 7, not knowing how to say things anymore without it coming out wrong. There is a fine line between dignity and complete failure. I'm very independent, have always been that way. I surprised Kirk a lot when I didn't ask him for stuff like most of the women in his life had. He just came to expect that was how it was, so I frustrated and amazed him with my ability to just do things on my own. My arthritis has definitely changed that, and I did realize it made him feel good to help, so I took a step back from me. This, however, has created a monster for me that I'd love to slay by myself, but am not sure I can anymore. So I'm angry, frustrated, depressed, and feeling alone. There was a way I used to be, and I was very independent. Like if I needed groceries, you know, walker or no walker, crap, just go to Walmart. I would walk half an hour or go get my groceries, and then it might take me a bit to get home, but I would just go do it. If I needed to have something done, I learned from a small age, if I needed something to get done, if I waited for other people to do it, it often didn't get done when I needed it to get done. So I just learned to be self-sufficient and do. Just a second here. My scammer is on. The one that tried to steal this profile from me, because it was originally C is for Crone. They've come out as CL is for Crone. It is not me. They are offering money. There's ways to make money and all that kind of stuff. And so if you see anything that isn't C is cis4, it is not me. I am cis4. I am C is for Crone. They are CL is for Crone, and they use my picture. So I'm putting out there in the community, if you should have me on Facebook and you're a friend of mine, or they pop up or whatever, CL is for Crone, is not me. Whoops. Okay. So, yeah, I have this monster of trying to figure out, because I'm alone and we have COVID, what I can and cannot do, and trying to accept that while I'm grieving. So it's been very, very difficult to do so, because I used to be able to do dishes, and now it's like, you know, what are we, you know, about... So yes, in less than 10 years ago, I used to be able to do housework. That actually sounds like a long time, 10 years. I'll have to put some perspective on it now, because 10 years is actually a lifetime for some things. Number 8, my natural need to spend time alone and problem solve by myself. I think, and problem solve by myself. As a thinker, you know, I need to process, and I need to be able to process the way I process this. It doesn't bode well for school, sometimes causes problems in relationships, you know, those kind of things. How you think can cause immense amount of problems. Anyways, I think this has caused many misunderstandings about myself. Although not the social butterfly my husband was, which you can kind of tell on my phone. I shake my head. I do need socializing. Even with him here, there were many a time I needed to get out and away from the house with people other than him. Just once a week for a tea. Didn't have to be the same person. Sometimes even grocery shopping was enough. COVID has definitely changed this. I have basically become a shut-in now that Kirk is gone. I don't think people really realize, because I certainly wasn't advertising, that Kirk was the only person I was really hanging out with. That in a lot of ways, I'm going to blame dialysis, because dialysis took up so much time and energy that it did turn around and rob me of creating friendships. I legitimately call dialysis our nothing, referencing The Neverending Story. Good movie. It is on Netflix. There's something wrong with the ending of that. I'm hoping he has it on video so I can watch it and see if I'm right or wrong. I know there is a wrong. His mother's name was not Moonchild. I watch TV with the closed captioning on the bottom because I have hearing issues. So anyways, it was our nothing. It came in and ate up our life, and our lives became struggling to fill in the spaces in between dialysis with meaningful and things we enjoyed. We lost fun completely. So now I sit here, and if it wasn't for 2 people, really, I would be a shut-in. Now, for all those people who are sitting on the other end of here or my laptop, who are like in other countries or anything like that, I am a little frustrated because I need to change how this goes, but I am not angry with any of you. How are you, if you were in, like, some of my family in BC, supposed to come and help me with dishes and stuff? Like, really, how are you supposed to do that? You can only send your love via electronics. The frustration is with people here, and the little things that I feel should be happening, that I feel that shouldn't have to ask for. As I've said to the 2 people here, is, where are my casseroles? There's an idea I had, a perception I had, based on movies and TV shows and in grief group that I was in from my mom in 2013, you know, where I listened to their stories and went, why am I alone? Where is my community? So I don't want to be a shut-in. Circumstances have made me a shut-in. Number 9, burnout. Thankfully, we did have some who could help while he was doing dialysis, but we should have asked for so much more. He didn't want to bother people, so it made problem solving for me difficult. I'm drawing a blank now, but I don't think I stood up to him in the right ways so that we both got what we needed. There really wasn't any help for patients of renal failure and their families. We both were very aware of how busy our friends were, and he had come to rely on me so much that all he wanted was me like I was when we were first hanging out. We were both frustrated a lot when she disappeared. Dialysis isn't totally to blame for that. It only exacerbated an already existing problem. In 2017, the year we got married, in the beginning of it, he proposed to me in December 16th, and I really love how he just sometimes just came out of the blue and da-da-da. And it wasn't a traditional proposal. But anyways, in 2017, right after he proposed to me in December of 2016, the diet dump came. I no longer could have dairy. Discovered I had IBS and a moderate, non-alcoholic fatty liver. So going towards this wedding is things that felt like they had to be stripped from this wedding because I had diet restrictions. And when you can't eat, you can't nourish your brain. And when your brain isn't nourished, you can't think. So all these diets that have denial and you can't eat that and you can't think, really check in to see whether or not you're getting the proper caloric intake for your brain to function. Because I discovered as I was going through things that I was down to like 600 to 800 calories a day. Which means, even like this, and I was lighter then, I did lose weight. I was still a plus size bride, but I was starving my brain. Trying to plan a wedding and starving your brain. Okay. People said I was kind of difficult. I can see that, but I was not the typical on TV bridezilla. There was just an image of how I wanted that wedding to go, and I really did want it because it was very spiritual, and I didn't get to say that a lot, that that's why this wedding needed to be that way, because there was a very spiritual connection for me and for him that I was trying to create. But there was a hidden thing that we didn't really get confirmed till in 2018. That only became because I had a moment where I tried to kill myself after we got married. Somewhere in the beginning of November, I'm thinking. We'd only been married for a few months, and I tried to kill myself. What was sitting there? Menopause. I was heading into menopause. Now, most people, I won't say anyways, a lot of women who've gone through menopause, and I will say even their male partners or female partners and their families, will sit there and say, my mom and I are right. It should be called mental pause, because your brain goes whoop, and you cease being who you were, and you're looking in the mirror going, who is this person? And so I didn't know while I was planning a full wedding that my hormones were in a state of flux. So here's Kirk, my poor fiance and then husband, trying to deal with something he didn't understand because I didn't know what was going on, so I couldn't explain to him. A lot of times when I sat down and explained things to him, he got it. That's how good he was. And that is what I lost. One of the things I lost. Number 10. I really did / do need gestures. I don't ask because a lot of time I'm zoning out now. All the above has led me to block things out. My very good friend has been an angel for me because she doesn't always wait for me to ask if I need things. She reminds me when she's busy so we can plan accordingly. Sometimes this gives me things to look forward to. There is someone else here who would help me more if I let him. I have experienced the stigma of his presence in my life by people who think it's wrong that my ex-husband should be a part of my life, especially since Kirk has passed. I am frustrated by this, as all of the people here and the area who knew him, who knew Kirk, he's the only one making an effort besides this very good friend. I really do get people are busy, but so is he, and so is she. I feel lonely. And it is true about the little things. It's the little things that matter. It's those little actions that tell people how important you are to them. And I really don't feel very important. And that's sad. Because in my time of grief, for a man who, had I been able to do if we hadn't had vid, I would have needed to rent the hall near the house that holds upwards of 500 or more people for the service, because all these people valued him and wanted to come and then couldn't. Thank heavens our people who handle funerals were able to do it live, so that a lot of people could go online and watch it. So, but where are all these people, you know, in it? No, I don't want to be bothered every single day with, and I say bothered because I've had incidents in my life where oh my god, no, I'm fine. Please stop asking me if I'm okay. And I generally tell people now, no, I'm not okay. But I will be okay. So I don't want to be reminded by questions, are you okay? Because I might be okay that day, and you asking if I'm okay makes me think about my situation and doing that. But things like, we had this for dinner. I know you have issues, food issues. Would you like some? We have leftovers. Would you like some? I can leave it out on your back deck so we don't have any contact. Or is your porch open? I'll just leave it in the porch. And then at some point, hopefully I can get you your container back, or give me something that I don't have to give you back. My garbage. I thought about asking a couple people, and then got angry because where's my neighbors? Why is nobody asking me, do you need your garbage taken out? No, I'm not okay. But asking me if I need my garbage or the recycling, or do you trust me enough to take your bank card to go grocery shopping for you? Now, this very good person, she takes me and she runs me around, and now instead of shopping, part of this is Vid's fault, hate COVID, is that she takes me, but I go in and I go out. There is no joy in it anymore. And there used to be joy for him because he'd go to the store and he would talk to all the people he knew, and he'd go look at video games, and sometimes I had to say no. I didn't want to say no, but you know, he was just buying games that eventually someday miraculously he was going to play with. So that's changed for me, this sort of dart in and dart out, and part of it is my money situation has changed. I wonder how many people have actually sat there and asked, how is she surviving? I'm surviving for a couple things. One, the house is paid for. Pay your property tax, you keep your house. Property tax is low enough that it, with the grand total of my survivor's benefits of about $400 and some change, I can do so. I also have been selling a few things, and that little bit of dribble in money means I can buy cat litter. I've helped pay extra on bills and that kind of things. But I don't know if that's surviving. It's certainly functioning. I don't know. Is functioning surviving? I'm trying to make changes and I'm trying to focus. But right now it's all about emotion. And so, you know, please remember, when it comes to your people who lose their people, their grief doesn't just magically disappear because you want it to, or because there's a certain time has passed. Now would be a really good time for people to step up and ask me, do you need? And if I say I don't know, or offering is actually better than asking. Would you like me to? Then that allows me to make one of two decisions. One, no, okay, I'm good, no, I'm good here. And then two, if I realized I've made a mistake, I can come to you and say, I've made a mistake. I actually do need you to come and do that. Thank you so much for offering, you know, type thing. So, and this is, that's one of the hardest things about not having that community. I didn't realize I didn't have that community. He was so appreciated, and at the funeral and after, you know, all in that period in September going into October, there felt like there was this community, and there really isn't. And so I feel like I'm alone. Okay. And then I wrote, I don't think this is a cry for help. At first I thought it was. Not sure about that now. Most likely a polite wrist slap, because I expected so much more than what has happened. I believe another reason I don't ask is because I don't want to face the excuses of people who said they'd help, but when asked for it, realized they were playing societal lip service, because that's what we do when people are hurting. We be polite. I try very hard not to make promises I can't keep, because I believe my word is my bond. Through the journey of my life, I have learned most don't follow this. It's easier to say than do. We live lives of excuses as to why we can't instead of why we can. We definitely don't live lives of those that can do and those that can't do what they can. I believe this philosophy as well. Try to impart this on Kirk, who was too stretched, but would mostly do whatever he could for a lot of people. He was very giving. The man was very, very giving. Not always charitable in a way that would have been good for him, but he was very, very giving. Now, in doing that, he didn't always stop to sit there and go, should I be doing that? Am I in a place to actually be doing this? You know, sometimes even offering a hug when somebody needs it can be asking yourself too much of yourself. So I was trying to break him of that habit so that he could be what he needed to be for him, us, and for his close people. Because that's what's important, is that close community of people. And he did stretch himself too far. There was a point when we were first hanging out together, first being together, where he sat in a truck and he broke down. And he said he couldn't take it if another person needed him for anything. And I went, oh, fuck me. And because he was having another one of those conversations about not wanting to be here. I had a lot of those conversations over our 6 years, roughly, together, where I did talk him off a ledge, did make it abundantly apparent to him that he had to make choices. Because that was very hard on me. I had to draw a line. I had to draw my own line. But yes, he fell apart because once again somebody needed him for something, or he was reached out to, when there were other people who could have been in a place to help deal with this. There was a lot of asking Kirk for stuff and not listening to him and not paying attention to what he needed. I will say I was at a slight advantage, which put me at a disadvantage being a very strong empath. Reasons for that. There are reasons for that, but being a very strong empath, I could feel him. He used to drag my blood sugars down. My diabetic husband would have issues with it being too high or too low, and it affected me physically. I would get sick, and things. So he was burnt out when I met him. He was emotionally absolutely burnt out when I met him. I can remember times when I gave him comfort and when I was actually there for him. Dial stole that from me. So also I wrote, so I guess I was right. Here I am, a crone alone. But what is true also is that I need to love up those who, if they could be here, would be here. They are the most important people to me. I have people in my life who don't live. They live all over the world type thing. And who are the most important people to me. they support me. I may have acquired a couple here on YouTube. Thank you so much, because I may not be in the right headspace when you say your words, but a lot of times it pops up back later when I'm a little more calm and not quite so emotional. And I'm being emotional, and I am speaking my part here on YouTube, and people who don't watch it all aren't going to get it all, but because there might be one person out there who feels as alone as I do, who has no community, who didn't get an opportunity to really, in their life, because life was leading them by the nose, to build that community because of who they were, because of circumstances, etc. That might watch this video from start to end and go, whoa, I'm not alone. I found a smidge of community with Jacksepticeye, Sean McLaughlin from Jacksepticeye here on YouTube, because there's a guy that, I'm weird that way too. That when I was playing Happy Wheels, I did find that I was loud and I swore and that, that kind of thing. So there was somebody to connect to. And he has tried in some respects, very hard to build a very wonderful, caring community with his channel here on YouTube. So whatever you might think about gamers can be very compassionate and caring people. They're not necessarily self-indulgent and self-involved. They just get lost in what they love doing. That's it. I also said, for it is true, in times of crisis, you really get to know who your real friends and family are, and I capitalized real because I was pissy by the time I finished writing that. I'll be honest, I was pissy, because there are people out there, who sit there and say, oh yeah, but where are they? Where are you? Here might be where I live, but I can't call it home anymore. The small town that I live in, where there is that imagined closeness because it's a small community, it doesn't exist here. There are communities within communities and within communities. It's very cliquey here. And where I thought I could build and share love and be who I was, I can't be that person here. I will honestly say people are very self-involved here, and if you do not fit into their little mold, if you do not behave as they feel you should behave, they will work to make you not exist. And so maybe that's the problem, is stuff that has happened before is sitting on stuff that's going on now, and so therefore I don't have community. But I also wrote, having said that, I know here is full of good people. Maybe one day I can find them again. So maybe when I take my grief goggles off and I can think again in sort of more rationally than emotionally, I will draw those people to me who are good and kind and will offer me a community that is a true community. And this is one of the reasons why I've still stayed on Facebook, because there are communities that I exist in on Facebook, in my groups, in some of my groups, that if I just disappeared, if I followed advice to the letter about giving up social media, I would lose. There are 2 people who comment on my stuff all the time. that I kind of consider friends, like acquaintance friends, and would definitely like to get to know better. That I would lose if I just canned everything. That's one of the blessings of the internet, is there is an opportunity to find like-minded people and to build communities in a positive way and not get lost in the he said, she said, vile energy that is also the flip side of the internet, because there are trolls on there who prey. There are predators on there that prey on our weaknesses and on our thoughts and make us feel small and stupid and all that kind of stuff. And so yes, I would encourage, let's build communities that support each other. I just wish that there was a better way to connect with all of the communities that are positive and like energy. I don't understand Zoom. It's making no sense to me, but those who knew me or know me know that I'm a pencil and paper person. Not a laptop electronics for my writing. My art, I would prefer to make my own paint. Ooh, I never realized that before. Make my own paints and paint right from the source of my stuff. There's a connection there. I tried setting up Zoom. I think I set up Zoom. But I do have Facebook. And after watching some videos about rooms, I'm going to connect more. I'm going to try starting there so that potentially, as been talked in comments on the other stuff, that I can maybe build a more face-to-face. I might not be able to touch you, shake your hand, hug you, but there may be the face-to-face. I am missing that because as a shut-in, which is so hard to accept, I spend a lot of time talking to myself. And cats are just not great conversationalists, and the fish are worse. And I'm a very affectionate person, so I do need, that's what I do need. And I think that's where all the frustration of everything is coming from, is because I don't have that community to be affectionate with. He was my community. Yeah, he was my community. He was my person. So, whoops. I'm at like an hour here. I don't know how to make the widow's journals short, but I don't think they should be short. I think this is things that, you know, should be talked in full, you know. Okay, I have to go back a little bit because my emotions and my stuff. I want people to take my words and go and think. That's who I've always been for like years now. I was the philosopher poetess for a while, so you know, promote thought, promote thinking, and you know, I don't want to change. I'm not one of these people that wants to go out and change the perceptions of the world. What I want to do is have people think about the perceptions of the world and then make their own decisions and create their own perceptions based on an inner truth. What's true for them. And not based solely on I said things should be this way. Oops, excuse me. Because things should be the way that they should be. Woulda, shoulda, coulda, if, ands, buts, whatever. We all have to figure out what our individual paths are and then walk that, because when we don't, then we lose sense of self. Okay, so she talks about theology And theology, or it's talked about theology, because apparently this was a bit of a collaborative effort in said book. The cycle of birth, growth, death, decay, and regeneration is the core of pagan theology, from thea, goddess, rather than theos, God. Okay, so thea is referencing to female and sacred feminine, which was touched in the Da Vinci Code, if you want a movie reference. So anyways, it goes on to say, and this will become the place where my life begins again, is in this, encapsulated in this paragraph. However we define our theology, thealogy, and whatever images we use to clothe the sacred, we recognize that the ultimate heart of the world is mystery. The great powers of life and death can never be wholly known, defined, or controlled. We can approach them with awe and wonder. We can increase our own knowledge and wisdom without limits, but we will never know all. Acknowledging the mystery lets us approach the world with wonder and humility, with caution to limit our errors, and with a sense of joy and liberation. There is freedom in not knowing. They say ignorance is bliss. Once you know, you can't unknow. So think in terms, what this really references is, think in terms of magic and illusionists and what they do. Think about how much more woohoo and yay and awesome and wow, that's cool things are when we don't know how they did it. And how much it was like, oh, it was that? That's all it was? To do that? You mean I could do that too? Kind of, yeah, it kind of steals from the amazingness. For me, I cite back to a time as a child when one Christmas I had brought my brother a truck, I do believe, a little toy car truck thing, like a Matchbox or something like that. And do they still even sell Matchbox, or is it like Hot Wheels and stuff now? But anyway, I can't even remember what he got me. He got me some, I don't even remember what it was. But we decided in our child infinite wisdom to share what we got each other for Christmas. So I was like, who was it gonna hurt? We don't have to tell mom and dad or anybody else that we did this. Well, Christmas came, and I was so looking forward to, you know, opening it and seeing, you know, re-seeing it, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. I got my gift, I opened it, and because I knew what it was, there was no joy in unwrapping the paper. There was no joy in opening it up and go, oh, wow, this is cool. This is amazing. Hello, Mr. Bastion. And so I vowed from that point, again, I was never ever going to do that. And in future Christmases, even as an adult, started to share. But even that got to be too much sharing, so that on Christmas Day, you knew what everybody was getting everybody else type thing. So there was very little mystery. So maybe the salvation and that start of the path, the place where my life begins anew, is to re-embrace the mysteries in it. Because a lot of what's going on with me in my grief has nothing to do with Kirk passing, other than it popped up before he passed. Because your brain let goes the blocks, drops the walls, opens the curtains when you feel safe. And I don't feel safe anymore. Not in the way I used to. I lost that when he died. So yes, potentially now we're getting to the time where I talk about the wheres and the why-fors instead of alluding to of how what happened. That, I guess it would be the second week in September. It might be time to start talking about it and how it affected me. Because you can't live in trauma forever. And for my brain to block it all out, I'm afraid he'll disappear. And he doesn't deserve to disappear. He wasn't perfect. I often said he was my most imperfect person. Because, oh my god, that man was flawed. He was absolutely flawed. So, thank you for joining me here today. And I urge you to check on your communities and make sure they're actually sound and true, and that there's a truth there. And because no one can read your mind, but having that real community will definitely, I've seen it. Sometimes they overcare, and you do need to stand up for yourself and say, hey, stop. Just stop, please stop. But if your community is real and actually there for you as a person, then they will understand. And so I guess for me, the lesson learned here is to go invest in the community that is here. Even though they're not here and you can't hug me. You know, hello Bastion. Go love your community. Bye. Oh, it's okay, baby. Did I not hold you right? This is my community that's here right now. Or not. Bye now.